What's going on, everyone? Happy Saturday to everyone out there. I'm joined by my good friend Mike. This is the sports judge here. What's going on, Mike? How you doing, man? What's going on in Chicago?
Man, it's a rainy day, man. It was nothing but rain. It's pretty hot out too. It's pretty hot out and it was raining, so never. I like rain. I'm a big rain guy. But I don't like when it's still hot because then you get that humidity going on. I'm not rocking with that.
I feel you on that one, man. Well, here in Southern California, we don't get that much rain, so we get a lot of sunny days. I'm not here to brag, but hey, obviously you like the rain. Hey, if you okay with that, then hey, it works for you. Me, I don't like the rain. I freak out when water starts dropping from the sky. It just gets to me because I'm so spoiled and not used to it. But man, we got some NFL football tomorrow. We
Yes,
got a
sir.
lot of stuff going on in the sports world. We got the postseason right here coming up, and baseball's getting interesting, especially with the fact that the Giants lost today. So now the Dodgers still have a chance to win the division. The thing is, they got to win tomorrow's game, and they got to hope that the Giants lose tomorrow. Do you see the Giants losing because they've been so hot down the stretch, and all they I just it's just hard for me to see them falling apart with one more game remaining.
I wouldn't really say it's them falling apart. I feel like they're very comfortable with whatever position they're in. Of course, they want to win the division. You get that better in the standings for the playoffs in October. But I think at the end of the day, they're very comfortable with whatever way they have to go about it, and they understand that they respectfully have no business even fighting for this spot, considering this Dodgers lineup, this roster, this rotation. It's very good to see. A big thing for me was seeing that Clayton Kershaw might miss the entire postseason. That was huge for me seeing that last night. I didn't expect that. I haven't really been following the Dodgers since the Trevor Bauer incident, unrelated to why I haven't been following them. I just, I've been busy since around April, May. So I haven't been able to check that out. But I do know, Scherzer, Bueller, Price, like they can still get it done. But the Giants probably looking forward to not having to see Clayton Kershaw early on in the year. So I don't know. I think they're completely fine with whatever happens.
Yeah, the San Francisco Giants. I think they surprised many of us. I don't think any of us expected them to be where they are right now.
Right.
Um, if you were to tell me that the Giants were in first place with the best record in baseball, I wouldn't believe you.
And the
I wouldn't
Padres
believe
missed the playoffs.
exactly. The Padres missed the playoffs, and you would have thought that it would have been the Dodgers and the Padres in a tight race. Well, it
Right.
turns out that it's the Giants and the Dodgers in a tight race. And what this shows me, Mike, is that you don't have to have all the talent in the world. You can have, players that a lot of people don't know much about, and you can still make a run for the postseason like this Giants team has done. It's incredible what they've done. You got to give a lot of credit to them.
Yeah.
Even though I'm a Dodger fan, I mean, you got to try to stay a little bit biased, when you talk
Right.
about this, because what they've done is very incredible, and they have
No,
a
without a
bunch of
doubt.
names that a lot of people don't really know about. A lot of
Right.
people are not familiar with a lot of these guys over there. But the Dodgers still have a chance to get the division. If they don't, they will have to face the red hot Cardinals. I don't know how I feel about that being a Dodger fan. I'm nervous about that.
It would be a
If
wild
they
card
match
game.
up, yeah, that would be the wild card game. And the
I
thing
would
is,
I would
if
give
the
it to you
Dodgers
guys
lose,
without a doubt.
they're eliminated.
Yeah, no, I would give it to you guys. I'd give it to the Dodgers just because Adam Wainwright is most likely going to be their number one pitcher going into the playoffs. He's 39, 40 plus years old, So I mean, if you're throwing Walker Bueller or even Max Scherzer out there, I'm very confident in that Dodgers lineup to be able to get it done. So I think they're at a big advantage just because of Walker and Max.
I definitely think they're throwing Max out there.
I
If
would.
it,
I
if
would
it,
throw Max.
if it comes down to it, they're definitely throwing Max
Right.
out there. I don't see Walker Bueller getting a start. I know that he's very unflappable. I know he likes to pitch in big moments. But the way that Max has pitched since he's joined the Dodgers, it has made all the difference. I mean, it has kept this Dodger team afloat because of his presence. And when they added him to the starting rotation, it made the Dodgers 10 times better and scarier than what they were.
Right.
So I think Max would definitely get the nod if it comes down to it. Hopefully they win the division so they don't lose an arm like Max. Because if you win the division, then you can start Max in game one or
Right.
either Walker Buehler.
That's why for me it's kind of one of those things where I might start Walker just so you can have Max game one playing the Giants and then try to get your way in. Maybe you have Walker by game 3, game 4. Then you could work something out with that. But yeah, I definitely see in that situation you'd probably want Max, especially with the way Arenado did leave tonight's game though a little bit early. They were playing the Cubs. I didn't really get to see why. So I'm hoping, because I am a big Arenado guy. I always have been. I'm very happy for him.
I am too.
I definitely liked the situation he was going into at the beginning of the year. I didn't think they'd have to be fighting for this playoff spot the way they have been. But the Cubs surprised me very early on in the year. We saw how fast they went back to normal. But I definitely think if Arenado remains healthy, it's definitely going to be a dogfight. But if Arenado's out, I mean, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. We're still gonna stay on baseball here. I'm gonna move on. I want to talk about the most disappointing teams this season. Who's your most disappointing team? And I know the Padres are the trendy pick for a lot of people. A lot of people are gonna say the Padres and take the easy way out and not focus too much on another team. But there's other teams that have had a disappointing season. One to me is the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah, I could see why, but it's also one of those situations where I feel like, again, just like the Giants, you can't name a lot of guys on that team. They're very young. They're still trying to establish themselves as big name, big leaguers. So I will give it some time. The same way I feel about the Tigers. I feel like the Tigers in a couple of years are going to be very, very good. Unlike the Pirates, I feel like the Tigers and Orioles rebuilds are actually pretty successful all around the board. The Pirates rebuilds, it's a rebuild within a rebuild, but it's definitely something concerning moving forward. But mine was the Cubs, and not to be biased, but it was definitely the Cubs just based off the fact of what was happening. And if you go off of what was happening, I mean, we were talking about a potential crosstown World Series. We were talking about the White Sox going to the World Series for the AL, and the Cubs swept the Dodgers early on in the year, swept the Padres, swept the Cardinals, swept the Mets, and beat the Braves in a series. So we're talking about a team that not only was in first place, they also no-hit that Dodgers offense. No offense, Jonathan, not to shoot you while you're down, but we did that in a very effective way. Guys weren't gone in that game. It was the full Dodgers lineup. I think the only exception was Cody Bellinger, if I'm not mistaken, who was still injured. But look what Cody's been doing the whole year, so that really doesn't mean anything. But it was definitely very shocking to me to see how fast they fell. I expected all those guys to be traded regardless at the beginning of the year. You saw Mike on the Mike podcast. We blew up over 2 million views over that one video alone because we predicted it. It was months before. I said this is where these guys are going, and I banked on all of them. The one I didn't know was Jock Peterson, but let's be real, Jonathan. Who cares where Jock Peterson goes? But at the end of the day, though, like it was just the way it was handled. You sweep the Dodgers, you're in first place, hit them, and then you lose 12 straight, and then you win a couple games, and then you lose 12 more straight. And it just happened so fast. And we weren't talking about injured guys. Like, these guys were perfectly healthy. They just weren't banging. So for me, they were the most disappointing just based off of what we were seeing at the beginning of the year towards June, July.
Yes, absolutely. Coach Gio has chimed in, by the way. I don't know if you know Gio really well. Mm-mm. He's a podcaster as well. He's doing his thing. He's an amazing talent as well. And he left a comment here saying that he hopes the Mariners get in. And I'm with him. I hope the Mariners get in too. I think that'd be great for our neighbors up north here on the West Coast.
Yeah,
That'll be
without a
nice to
doubt.
see the Mariners get back in because it's been a long playoff drought for them, and they haven't been in the playoff picture for so long. I remember growing up in the '90s, they was always one of those more dominant teams that
Yeah,
you would see in baseball, and they were mostly carried by their offense because they didn't really have dominant arms in their rotation, with the
yeah,
exception of a guy like Randy Johnson.
right.
Uh, but this young Mariners team is coming up. I think they're almost to where they want to be. They have a lot of potential. They have a lot of promise, and they have a lot of young talent on that team.
Oh
It's
yeah,
great to see what this Mariners team has done, especially um, the guy Mitch Henniger. I always say his
yeah,
name.
yeah, yeah. I can't say it
Yeah,
either, but I know who you're
he's
talking
oh my man, he's on a tear right now. He is basically carrying that offense.
about. Right.
He's been amazing for the Mariners down the stretch here too. What do you think about the Seattle Mariners, and what do you think about their future? It looks bright for them down in Seattle.
Man, I love Seattle, bro. Like, if I had to
Mhm.
pick like top three places I'd want to live, Seattle is definitely up there for me. And maybe it's not the favorite. I really like Florida. I'm a big Florida person. I love the beach. I love the waves. I love boating. I love fishing. I love all that stuff. So
Mhm.
Seattle, LA too, Southern California, Jonathan. You
Mhm.
ever have me, I'll be down there. But it's Seattle's definitely one of those places where I feel like the fan base is hungry. And we saw that with the Seattle Seahawks a few years back. With the Legion of Boom, how happy that fan base was. The last time I truly remember, the Seattle Mariners being of any kind of conversation was when I was a kid, and it was Ken Griffey Jr. And
Yep.
that's a long time ago, bro. Like that was Mike with hair down to his shoulders and no beard ago. Like it was a long, long time ago. Like we haven't talked about them in a long time. I'm a big Kyle Lewis guy. I like Kyle Lewis a lot.
I
Um,
like him too.
yeah, I think he did have kind of not a sophomore slump, but after winning Rookie of the Year and then kind of being not quiet, but not getting better, I guess I should say. You didn't build off of year one. You kind of
Right.
just had another year one type season, which is perfectly fine. But I definitely like this team. There's a couple of teams that aren't my own that are like the Cubs that I do root for. I like the Braves. I like the Toronto Blue Jays, who I think everybody is sleeping on. I've said it from the jump of the season. These guys are dogs. These guys are hungry. But the other one is the Seattle Mariners. I'm really interested to see that we haven't even seen half of this farm system come up yet. So I'm really excited for what the next couple years means, and these guys continuing to develop.
Yes, yes, and I mean you're seeing it every day. It
Right.
it looks like it looks like these guys are developing faster than expected, and so it's amazing to see what they're doing down in Seattle now. Man, we're gonna transition over. Excuse my speech. Over to the NFL now. We're gonna go over some NFL picks for tomorrow's games. I know you real savvy about the NFL. You know your stuff when it comes to the NFL, and one of the matchups that I'm looking at right now is the Chiefs and the Eagles. For me, it's definitely the Chiefs. I
Yeah.
mean, the Eagles, yes, they have guys that um, are going to be really great in the future. I'm a really huge fan of Jalen Hurts. I
Me too.
think he's going to make a lot of noise in the NFL. And when time comes, he's going to be a very, very great player in the NFL. But I got to go with the Chiefs. I think if the Chiefs clean up their turnovers and provide some defensive resistance in the red zone, they should win this game. They should at least come away with a victory by 2 touchdowns. The Eagles last week, they were overwhelmed in Dallas. They were picked apart, by that Dallas defense that was able to force some turnovers
Right.
and make some big plays down the field. So I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with the Chiefs in this game. Like I said, if they just clean up some turnovers and they just clean up their turnovers and their offense stays consistent, I think they'll be very, very good in tomorrow's matchup. What do you think?
I think it shouldn't even be close. It really shouldn't. I love Jalen. I love what Jalen's doing. If you don't have him on your fantasy football team and he's still in waivers, you definitely need to pick him up. He's top 5 at the position right now. Devontae Smith is continuing to develop. I love what I'm seeing from him. The biggest problem to me is the problem that it's been all year is that secondary just isn't there. Their front is great. Anything with Fletcher Cox involved in it is going to be a decent front. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire isn't going to have a day by any means. And I could be wrong on that. You might come back to this video later and say Mike's an idiot. But from what I'm looking at it as, Clyde has had issues, number one, fumbling the football. So if he goes anywhere near, Fletcher Cox, it's a wrap. Like, that's not happening. So I think it's going to be a very pass-heavy game. Obviously, you have Travis Kelce. Obviously, you have Tyreek Hill that you could lean on. Patrick Mahomes can do things with his legs and with his arm as well. So I definitely agree with you. This Eagles team, to me, has no shot in the world. But I do think it is a great battle test. It is something where, Jalen Hurts can leave this game. He's going to have a lot of wounds. He's going to have to lick them at the end of the game. But, he might give Pat a couple as well. So I'm very interested to see them going back and forth.
Yes. Mike. Panthers and Cowboys. Ooh, man. That was going to be a really, really good one.
Yeah.
I didn't even anticipate for this to be a compelling matchup. This game is bigger than Brady versus Belichick in week 4. I mean,
yeah.
Whoever saw that coming, and Dallas offense has really looked good. Dak Prescott has looked better than expected. A lot of people didn't expect him to get off to a fast start like he has. I would be interesting. It would be interesting to see if this Panthers defense can stifle Dak Prescott and swallow up that offense. It'll be interesting to see, them try to neutralize a guy like Dak Prescott. I mean, this is a very different challenge for Dak and the Dallas Cowboys because now they're facing a real test with a very, very good defense. So I'm going to go with the Panthers to stay perfect. I think they will remain undefeated, and I think they will pick up win number 4 in week 4. I mean, you've seen the transformation of I'm going blank here. Carolina's quarterback. Sam Darnold. I should know that, right? The guy's a USC product. I watched him for a few years, and I saw him emerge into a star quarterback there. So I'm not surprised to see the emergence. I'm not surprised to see his growth because now, he's in a different situation. He finally has decent coaching around him, and now you're starting to see him develop over time, which is really good for the Carolina Panthers, something he couldn't do in New York. So I'm going to go with the Carolina Panthers to beat the Dallas Cowboys. Who you got?
I mean, I think it's going to be a dogfight. I think I keep saying that, but they're really great matchups this week. I think the biggest matchup of it all is, and it's very upsetting that you don't get to see it, is Christian McCaffrey not being a part of this game. I think that's going to be huge for this Dallas defense not to have to worry about. Micah Parsons and all of them can just focus on what Sam's doing because at the end of the day, Chubbard is nice, but I feel like a big loss for them was losing Mike Davis to free agency. I feel like having Mike Davis would have helped a lot, or even bringing in someone like a Cordell Patterson or someone along those lines, just to be that guy. A Le'Veon Bell would have even been interesting, but it's definitely going to be a dogfight. I think it's going to be an air show. I think, you're going to have Sam throwing it to Robbie and a bunch of other cats on that offense. CJ Henderson, by the way, is available during this game to play in this game. Just got him from Jacksonville. He's a very young and talented product. I don't understand the reasoning for that trade. I didn't understand it from the jump. I feel like, if anything, when you have a young corner like that, and with a cornerback, I feel like, there's so much, development that goes into that. Kyle Fuller of the Bears, we've seen, going into his rookie year in a couple seasons, it's not that great, but then he turns into an all-pro. Same with Jalen Ramsey. Corners traditional corners take a couple years to start to learn the offense, learn the ticks that every wide receiver has. So I just feel like, them getting CJ Henderson is a huge, huge boost for this defense, and I'm really excited for it. So you might be able to hold guys like Dak, Amari Cooper, and others. So if I had to pick right now, I definitely would ride with Carolina just based off the fact that, I feel like Mike McCarthy doesn't really understand how to run a defense, to a very successful level. So I feel like at the same time, there are guys missing like Lawrence and others on this defense. And I feel like this Panthers team is ready to show for that.
Yes, absolutely. Now, man, we're going to talk about Freddie's Giants, and we all know how Freddie, our co host, by the way, for those who don't know, Freddie Henderson is our co host. We do a show twice a week. For those who don't know, we do a show, part of the ASAP network. It's called Just Say the Truth. So you guys are more than welcome to tune in, join me and Mike and Freddie and the rest of the gang on Wednesdays and Friday nights. But this is Freddie's team. And he is so damn optimistic about this team. I mean, this team is 0-3. Right. And they're going against the Saints tomorrow. I like the Saints to win this game by a large margin. I'm going to go 31. I'm going to go 31-10. Because I know Daniel Jones is playing well. I know he's looked good.
Right.
And this is Freddie's guy, right?
He's looked all right.
Freddie hypes this guy up. It's so unbelievable. But this team, like I always say, Mike, this team determines this team is going to be successful through Saquon Barkley. So he determines how far this team goes.
Right.
But I don't see this team going very far because, again, they don't have a great offensive line. And the Saints defense is for real. Let's give the Saints defense some credit. Let's show them some love, which is why I have the Saints blowing out the Giants because of their defense. I think the defense will get to Daniel Jones early. I think they'll put a lot of pressure on him, force him to make poor decisions with the football, and force him to turn over the football. So I got the Saints winning big against the New York Giants.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I think one of the biggest things and one of the most disappointing things that I saw throughout this week of just injury lists and updates was Saquon Barkley missed a couple practices due to a right knee issue. I don't know if it was right or his left, but it was the same one that he tore that ACL in, and they were just being precautious, but it was bugging him. It was bothering him. It has been bothering him the entire season. He says that it's more of just the rust and the, just soreness that comes with that ACL issue after a surgery and getting back into the game, which traditionally, the first year after an ACL surgery, I kind of just wash away. I usually like to see the second year after to see how it really flows and see how it goes. But as of right now, Jonathan, we're not in the second year of Saquon Barkley's recovery. We're in the first. So we're talking Alvin Kamara matched up against an injured Saquon Barkley, who's not feeling great with his knee, a horrible offensive line, and on the Giants side of things, an amazing top 10 defense for the Saints. You're also looking at Jameis Winston, who made the Packers defense look like a fool. And so far, the Giants defense hasn't looked any better. So to me, Kenny Galladay's banged up. Slayton forgot how to catch the other week. So can you rely on him? Daniel Jones, fumbling the ball. This team's going to bring pressure. I definitely think with or without Michael Thomas, this Saints offense is amazing. It's great. If you have Alvin Kamara in your fantasy team, you might have a field day because I truly do believe they're not only going to get out-coached but outplayed on all three phases of the ball.
Yeah, we'll just have to see how that game plays out. But again, I just see the Saints dominating and running away with that game. We're gonna move on. We're gonna make these quick. We're gonna try to get through these picks quick because there's still a few more I want to get to. The Cleveland Browns and the Minnesota Vikings. Okay, now look, the Vikings are 1-2. They have a dominant running game. We all know how great their running game is. Um, but there is some familiarity. Kevin Stefanski, he has roots in Minnesota.
Right.
So he understands this team, and I just think that Baker Mayfield, if you look at the quarterbacks that's matching up in this game, I just think Baker Mayfield is 10 times better than Kirk Cousins. I
Without a
think
doubt.
there's no doubt about it. So I think the Browns are riding with a lot of confidence after what happened in week 3, that big victory that they had. And I think they'll get it done. I
Yeah,
just think
what a
they're
victory,
a
John.
better team.
What a victory that was. Oh my
Yes,
God.
yes.
Anyway, talk about it. But also I yawned, so it looks like I'm crying. I'm not crying about the week 3 thing. I should be crying about it, but all my tears are gone. But yeah, let me be honest about it, and I'll say it. I'll say it as many times as I have to say it. I truly feel like Keelan Mond might be a great quarterback in the future, but I'm not really expecting anything huge from him as of right now with his development. But to me, the Vikings messed up not trading up, trading their whole future for Justin Fields. I felt like trading for Justin Fields or even Mac Jones. You have a Justin Jefferson, you have an Adam Thielen, you have Dalvin Cook, you have Zimmerman, you have a pretty decent offensive line and a pretty decent and above average defense when they're healthy. So I felt like personally, the Vikings are very close. The Vikings are very close to being in that, you know, deep playoff run conversation and potentially even winning the division. I think if they had an Aaron Rodgers, if you flip the script and put Kirk Cousins in Green Bay, and we talked about this the other day, Jonathan. If you flipped Rodgers and Stafford, what do you think it would be? Is there any difference? We didn't. We both agreed that there really wouldn't be a difference in that. I think they both have the same amount of success. I don't think Rodgers makes Detroit better, but I do think you give Rodgers, Justin Jefferson, and Adam Thielen and Dalvin Cook. If they had a top tier quarterback, oh my God, this team would be amazing. But they continue to ride with Kirk Cousins, and I think a big part of that is financial issues and financial restraints. If you dump him now, how much do you have to pay him? So that's a big issue. But yeah, I definitely think Baker and this defense and this Browns team, and it's crazy to say, Jonathan, because you know as well as I do, the last how many years has been nothing to say about this Browns team. Except that they're 0-16, but they are Super Bowl ready. These guys are Super Bowl type bound guys. Um, they have one of the best offensive lines that the Bears ripped apart. We just couldn't win the game. But Odell is back. Chubb and Kamara to me or not Kamara. Sorry to me. Kareem are two of the best duos in a backfield in all of football. You have Baker, you have Landry, you have Austin Hooper, you have a bunch of guys, Ngakwe and others. Jarvis Landry when he's healthy. This team's good. Myles Garrett, Clowney, Denzel Ward, Duplett, and others. I mean, they're good, and they're a greatly ran franchise and a greatly ran team, which is crazy to say again. So I have Cleveland by a million. I think Kirk Cousins fumbles the bag. I think Kirk Cousins doesn't do enough to win them this game. Do I count on Baker Mayfield 100% of the time to execute in the red zone? No. But he is leading the league in percentage. I think he's like 80-something% in completions, which is crazy going into week 4. Usually we're around 60s, 70s for completion ratings, even Tom Brady and Rodgers. But, Baker's chilling in that 80 mark, and then we're going to continue to see him flourish. And that's not an MVP conversation, but that's definitely something you want from your quarterback.
Absolutely. That is definitely something you want from your quarterback. And again, things are looking great for them as well. Now we move on, and I know, please forgive me, Mike, because I know this is a very sensitive topic for you right now. And yes, we're talking about the Chicago Bears. The criticism of Matt Nagy this week has felt a little more intense as expected.
It should.
And I mean, he's well deserving of the criticism because um, this guy's offense is too bland, too predictable.
Tell him, Jay.
And again, we talk about it. He lost this locker room. And now it's time for a coaching change in Chicago. The guy doesn't even know who his starting quarterback is. Justin Fields struggled badly in his debut, and that wasn't his fault. It's because he didn't have blocking up front.
Right.
And, it made life a living hell for him out there. And Matt Nagy was drawing up plays that didn't even make sense.
Yep.
So it's not totally Justin Fields' fault, but you don't even know who your starting quarterback is going to be. Is it going to be Andy Dalton? Is it going to be
Nick Foles?
Yeah. Nick Foles? I think it should be Nick Foles. I mean, Nick Foles to me seems like the guy that can help at least try to stabilize the offense. I mean, I really don't know how much he can do with that terrible offensive line that the Bears have.
Right.
And, they're playing the 0-3 Lions. So, I'm going to go with the Bears here. I'm leaning towards the Bears only because of their defense.
Right. And, they did actually announce tonight Justin Fields will be starting tomorrow. And it's a big – It's a big thing is mainly because to me, Nick Foles doesn't want to play. Nick Foles had a verbal argument with Matt Nagy this week at Hallis Hall. He was seen during week 3. And you can shake your head about that. I want you because, Nick Foles used to be a Ram. You understand. Nick Foles is one of those guys, good or bad, he's not going to say anything negative. So to me, when you have Nick Foles if you have an Antonio Brown talking crap or you have somebody else along those lines, opening their mouth about how the team is ran, that's one thing, and you don't really take it that seriously. But when Nick Foles, of all people, is the one speaking out, and, you see him in week 3 speaking to Andy Dalton on the sideline, and he actually gets caught saying it, that Matt's offense just doesn't work. It got caught by the cameraman, and I don't think he anticipated to be on TV during that point. Because why would he even be on the screen at that point? It didn't make sense. But they caught him. They caught him, and it was said, and everyone knows it. And I think that's what led to that argument because Matt probably confronted him about it, and he kept it real. Jimmy Graham, a Hall of Fame tight end, one of the best to do it, definitely top 10, also had a verbal argument about Nagy on Twitter. He's talking about a net worth of or a net of 1 yard of passing throughout the entire game. And Jonathan, we've known each other since 2015, and you've known me as a very straight up person. I'm not very biased when it comes to my teams. When I feel like the Cubs are a World Series contender in 2016, I made that clear from the rip. But going into 2018 and so on and so forth, I never really overshot it and said, oh, we're winning. But to me, I felt it with Mitchell Trubisky, man. Like I felt like, this guy could take you there. And the biggest fact of the matter is Matt Nagy used him as an scapegoat. And everyone's talking about, why are we talking about Matt? Why are we talking about Matt? Everyone's dogging Matt. This is the first time we've ever seen problems with Matt. It's not. The problem is when you're having a scapegoat, and if we're going to use the ASAP network as an example, if ratings are bad because of Jonathan, but Jonathan feels like it's because of me, Jonathan will say, well, maybe it's because of Mike. Maybe I don't work well with Mike. You know what I mean? And I leave the show, just like Mitchell Trubisky left the Chicago Bears. If ratings are still low, that proves to you that it wasn't me. It was Jonathan. And that's just an example. Jonathan's amazing at what he does. That's just me trying to share to you guys. And if you guys haven't checked out Jonathan, I suggest that you do because his writings and his columns are out of this world. I promise you that. But it's the same situation with Matt Nagy to where there isn't any positive with Matt Nagy, and I'm not going to sugarcoat that. You've used Mitchell Trubisky as an scapegoat. You've used Nick Foles, Andy Dalton, and now you're trying to use Justin Fields saying he's not ready. But we have Allen Robinson as a top 10 wide receiver, and this guy's running curls. This guy's running slants, screen option passes. What is that? So to me, we're looking at a Lions team, man. They're 0-3, but they've had some dog fights. They gave the Green Bay Packers a run for their money. They were up at half against Green Bay. They almost beat the Ravens last week if Justin Tucker didn't hit a 66-yard field goal to win the game, which is unheard of. They scored over 30 against the 49ers defense. So to me, Matt Nagy might feel like, we got to break this week. Maybe I won't get fired. It's going to be an easy game. I don't think it's going to be. I think you definitely have a problem. And if this Bears defense is on the field for 40-plus minutes again, like they were last week, as good as they are, guys get tired. Guys get gassed. And at the end of the day, Hawkinson's not going to slow up. You know what I mean? Swift is going to continue to do what he does. Goff, you know him better than anybody. You can rely on. He's seen this Bears defense every single year for the last 3-4 years. So to me, it's definitely a situation where I'm looking at it like you better pray your offense sticks and you better pray David Montgomery can get the ball moving, because if not, that defense is going to get tired.
Yeah, and if that defense gets tired, then the Bears are in a world of trouble. And
Exactly.
the Lions could come out with the victory.
Right.
And you're right, the Lions have lost some close games.
They
Games that
put their dogs. They put up.
they could have won. You know, those games were winnable, but they
Right.
just fell short, and it didn't happen for them. But we'll see what happens in that matchup. Now we're moving on to Buffalo and the Houston Texans. Now the Houston Texans are 1-2. They didn't expect to do much this year. A lot of people think this team is in the middle of a rebuild. Rookie quarterbacks, by the way, have been overmatched this year. And you saw that last week with the third round pick, Davis Mills. Um, I don't think the Houston Texans are favored to win against the Buffalo Bills. And in fact, I think this is going to be a blowout.
Yeah. I look at it as if it was Deshaun Watson, I think there's a conversation where, you have Brandon Cooks, you have Anthony Miller, and you have a couple other cats on that offense that could make the game interesting. But, at the end of the day, Deshaun's not there. Mills isn't ready, and that's no fault to his own. He was taken in a round that QBs traditionally don't succeed in, unless you're a Dak Prescott or a Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers. But he definitely hasn't had time to develop or even become anything. He just met Tyrod. He comes into the league and the guy he's supposed to be mentored by, and Deshaun Watson is nowhere to be found and being outcasted by the team. Everything's going right with this Josh Allen based team and with the Bills, and I think they're going to succeed. I think without a doubt, Jonathan, I think Stephon Diggs is going to have 120 plus yard day.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a great game for him. So I'm really interested to see that. But yeah, I don't think this Texans defense is going to hold even the slightest.
Yeah, and you also know that the Bills secondary hasn't given quarterbacks much air to breathe.
Right.
They're
very tight knot.
Yes, they made it very difficult. And you got to remember, too, Buffalo defensive coordinator Leslie Frazier is not going to let a guy like Davis Mills buy too much time.
Right.
We know that Mills can be very effective if he's given enough time to throw the football.
Right.
But Leslie Frazier won't allow that. So.
And someone I really like, too, is Brian DeBall, their offensive coordinator. I think what he's done with Josh Allen is amazing.
Oh, yes.
And going back to the Bears, if Matt Nagy is to get fired after this week or sometime this year, Brian DeBall is the first person I call up.
Yes. He's definitely built a resume to where he could be a head coach.
Yeah.
In this league.
That's your quarterback whisperer.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. I'm totally with you on that one, Mike. Now we move on. Miami Dolphins are the Indianapolis Colts. Now, hopefully, Carson Wentz, is he even back?
I heard he's questionable, but I haven't heard that he's playing.
Well, we don't know for sure, but let's just say he is back. Let's be hopeful that he is returning, and maybe his mobility, can help the Colts in some way. Indy's offensive line is banged up. It's injured. It has never played worse under Frank Wright. I mean, injuries have been an issue early on for the Indianapolis Colts. I'm going to go with the Dolphins in a close one. I think this one ends up being 21-14. I think the Dolphins win by a touchdown. And I believe the Dolphins are a 2-point favorite, if I'm correct. But yeah, this team just has too many injuries.
It's bad.
Huh?
It's bad.
Yeah. And, the same is true for the defense. I mean, they're without Darius Leonard. They're without Xavier Rose. They're without Kenny Moore. They're struggling. They're hurt. They're beat up. And the Dolphins have similar issues too,
Right.
up front offensively. But I think they have more of their body parts than what the Colts have. And I definitely think Brian Flores, because he has, totally won over that locker room.
Yeah.
I think he still brings, the chaos as a play caller. I think Miami should come away with the victory in this one.
Yeah, I think it's Jacoby Brissett revenge tour all the way. I think without a doubt. He knows this defense. He knows what he's up against. He knows the system they run.
Yeah, I forgot about Jacoby.
Yeah. Jacoby's a big thing for me. I think if it was Tua, it's kind of a different conversation. Because I love to call him Tua, turn the ball over. I'm left-handed too. I love watching left-handed quarterbacks try to succeed. The biggest thing with Tua is he just can't stay healthy. So I think Jacoby's in a situation, like you've practiced against this defense for how many years now? Every day in practice, you've watched what they do. You've seen what they've done on Sundays and game days. So you understand that. Now you're coming into this game. You're looking at it. Quentin Nelson, I believe, is still kind of an injury situation. Jonathan Taylor has a knee issue right now. Carson Wentz, I just looked it up while as we're speaking, still questionable. Haven't heard anything in the last 24 hours of that. It's still questionable. It hasn't changed. I probably do expect him to change. I think if anybody's listening out here right now, I think you can pretty much expect Carson Wentz to be listed as questionable the majority of your season. But I would probably bet on him playing unless it was something serious. It's just how he is. He always feels banged up throughout the season, always missing practices. It's just how it is. But but some guys it's just how the cards play. And I think you have Jalen Waddle. I think you have Gaskins, you have Gesicki, you have Fuller, you have Parker. I think Jacoby Brissett can not only use those as weapons, but also use his legs. I think he's definitely going to have an amazing game. Do I think he's going to completely run up the board? No, I do think it is going to be somewhat of a tight, close game if Carson Wentz is playing, because I couldn't tell you the backup of Indiana unless I really couldn't tell you. But yeah, so I do think the Dolphins do win this game.
Yeah, that's an easy pick for me too. I got to go with the Dolphins, as I mentioned moments ago. Now we're going to move on, my friend. We're going to move on to the Washington football team. I still can't believe this team doesn't have a nickname yet. That is unbelievable to me.
Yeah.
But we're going to
like it. I'm getting kind of used to it.
Yeah, so I mean, just pick a name already. I know you're probably used to it. Like most of the Washington fans are probably used to it by now. They probably wouldn't mind being called the football team, right? The Washington. Team.
I mean, if you're buying not to get off topic, but if you're buying jerseys and hoodies that say football team and then it gets changed next year and I paid $100 for this, I'd be pretty pissed.
Exactly.
So you might as well keep it at this point. It's year 2.
Well, that Washington football team is favored to beat the Atlanta Falcons, of course.
Right.
It makes a lot of sense. But you know what, Mike, I'm very surprised that Matt Ryan and Arthur Smith have been able to lead this offense, because this offense has been very atrocious. And somehow they've been able to put it together. Right. I don't know how it's working, but it's working. And, the Atlanta Falcons, they do have playmakers on this team.
Without a doubt.
They have Calvin Ridley. They have Kyle Pitts, who was arguably the most athletic draft pick in April's draft. They definitely have guys that, can run their routes and go out and catch the deep balls. But I mean, I'm gonna go with Washington. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Taylor Heinicke, and I'm not here to take anything away from him. But he is an upgrade at the quarterback position,
right?
Over Ryan Fitzpatrick, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, he has looked solid, yet it's still early in the season. So I'll give it to them this week. I just think Washington is the overall better team than the Falcons. The Falcons, they don't really have an identity yet. They're
Yeah,
not an established team under this new coaching regime.
which is insane.
It's going to take some time for Atlanta to get back to being a consistent winner.
Right.
You know, I think they're still a little bit um, away from being a contender, but we'll see what happens. But this week, I'm going to go with Washington. Who you have?
I actually, looking at it as the way it played out, I thought Atlanta could have snuck into a wild card type position had Julio Jones stayed. I thought, you have Matt Ryan, who's a great, great quarterback. Then you have Calvin Ridley, Julio Jones, and Kyle Pitts, Mike Davis, and Cordell Patterson. I mean, I think that's a great offensive weapons right there. I think it's the best offensive weapons that Matt Ryan would have had in years. I think the fact of losing Julio Jones completely cemented you as being a lottery type pick. Not a lottery in a sense of, there's a lottery, but just like a top 5 pick. This Atlanta team, truly got beat because of that. And it was really unfortunate to see Julio quit on them the way he did. I did expect him to want out, as he should want out. But, it was definitely a little too soon for me. I felt like if you would have waited just a little bit, season or two for Kyle Pitts to develop, maybe this team does start looking decent. Maybe this team can turn it around through free agency. But yeah, I'm really excited about it. I'm really excited to see what Taylor Heinicke has to offer. The big thing with Heinicke and why I'm a fan of him and why I support him is number one, this kid was in a Zoom math class a year and some change ago, and he was on the COVID practice squad. Like he was not supposed to be in this league. And then he got the call and he did, and he's been balling out. And the biggest thing with Heinicke to me is, what you have in Fitzpatrick. So for Ron Rivera to say Fitzpatrick is the future, nobody believes that. Now, in Taylor Heinicke, is Taylor Heinicke the future of the Washington football team, Jonathan? That's a question mark. That's something that throughout this season, I think you're going to continue to find out. I think by the end of this season, you'll have a good idea going into next year whether you want to draft a new quarterback, go into free agency and get one, or kind of just keep rolling with Taylor until you get that, draft availability to figure out what you have there. I think that's the only reason you start Taylor is because you know what you have in Ryan and there's no future in Ryan. So let's see if through Taylor, you play another team like Atlanta. If Taylor throws over 350 yards like he did against those Giants, without a doubt, this guy could potentially be, your franchise quarterback moving forward. Is he going to be a Pro Bowler? Is he going to be a successor? Maybe not. But you continue to build weapons around him and continue to let this defense just age and get older because they're very young. People are hating on this defense; they're so young. So you have to take it for what it is. And teams are adjusting to Chase Claypool and not Chase Claypool, Chase Young. And he's going to continue to get better and he's going to continue to get stronger. So I definitely have Washington going into this game. I think Heinicke has a lot to prove. I love Scary Terry. Terry McLaurin's a dog, without a doubt. I do know they have some running back issues right now with injury. I think Gibson is hurt. So I think a big part of this game is if you can stop Cordell Patterson and Mike Davis, you can win this game.
Yes, and speaking of Chase Young, man, if there's one guy that I believe can force the most turnovers, it's him because this guy can really force fumbles. He can get to the quarterback and make it very, very hard for a quarterback. So
he's like both of our guys in one, Jonathan. He's like Donald and Mac in one body.
Exactly. And it's crazy because he's a linebacker.
Yeah.
But he's that athletic, Now we're going to move on, Mike. We're almost there. We're almost to the finish line here. We're going with an NFC West division rival, 2 division rival teams, the Seahawks and the 49ers. Now, as we know, the Seattle Seahawks have been off to a very disappointing start, right?
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people believe that it's time to sound the alarm. That this is going to be a down year for the Seahawks because they haven't really played well. And when you look at the standings, the 49ers have a better record. But they haven't particularly looked good themselves. And the Niners offense isn't really running particularly well. So it's tough for me to make a pick here, but I think I might have to go with the 49ers. Looking at their record, looking at the fact that they're 2-1, the Seahawks defense is having a hard time getting off the field. And Shanahan's offense is, starting to hit his strides at the right time, and perhaps they're in the right place. So I like the 49ers to win this, although San Francisco has lost 5 straight at Levi Stadium. That's something to keep in mind as well. But who do you got in this one?
I got the 49ers. I love Russ. Like I said, I love Seattle. But a big thing for me is Elijah Mitchell has the potential of returning. Elijah Mitchell looked amazing in his first couple of games before injury. So I guess right now it seems like his shoulder's fine. It's just pain. So if he can go play through that pain, Kyle Shanahan said he's a cleared to go. Like he's ready to go, A1 ready. Trey Lance is a big part of this game for me too, is because the way he's been implemented into these games is very different from what we're seeing from a Justin Fields. He's not being forced to play over Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo can still be that floor manager, be that game time manager, clocking the game down and just being that guy. You have a George Kittle, you have a decent wide receiver core. So I feel like they can manage the game very well in the game clock itself. I like the way that you bring in Trey Lance, and especially with the Seattle's defense that you alluded to, I feel like in the red zone, Trey Lance is going to have a field day in that red zone. I feel if Kyle Shanahan allows him to play, because he said he would only do that in certain games, not every game. Like we didn't see him at all against the Eagles. But a big part of that's because of that front, and that Seattle front isn't really there. You know what I mean? So to me, I have the 49ers without a doubt.
Yeah, I'm going with the 49ers too. So me and you agree there. Now we're going to move on. We're going to move on because this is the game that's right here at home for me, Mike. And this is the Rams and this is the Arizona Cardinals. Now, this game is going to be played at that new football palace in Inglewood, California. And you can hear it in my voice. I'm already hyped up. I can't wait for tomorrow's game. It's going to be so exciting because now you got 2 NFC teams and they're both 3-0. So somebody's going to lose. Somebody's going to walk away with a 3-1 record while someone is going to improve and be 4-0. This is going to be a good game. Now, this is the first time that we've seen this Sean McVay's offense. We've never seen an offense like this one. Usually Sean McVay likes to run the play action, right? Well, now you have a quarterback by the name of Matthew Stafford who can drop back to pass without needing the play action. And that's what you've seen of late. Matthew Stafford has come in and put his stamp on this football team. And he has let the entire world know that this is his team. He's looked really, really good. He's been productive. And this trade is validated. I mean, it's fair to say that. I know it's still early, but he has looked really good.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at the other side, when you look at the Arizona Cardinals,
they're good.
They're really, really, really good, right? But Kyler Murray has not had much success against the Rams. If I'm correct, he's never won a game against the Rams. So it's as if the Rams kind of has his number.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how this plays out. But, I mean, with the matchups, the Rams just have so many advantages.
I think, to keep it short, because you made amazing points. I got the Rams, and I think it's just because of experience. And at the end of the day, Jalen Ramsey is really going to give him a problem. And D-Hop right now, is kind of injured, is kind of holding on to some kind of injury right now. We all know about that. So we're going to see what happens with him. But to me, the biggest thing is chasing Kyler around for however many minutes that Rams defense is going to be out there, because that's what it comes down to. If you can chase Kyler around the field, make him scramble, and still cover your man in the deep end of things, out in center field, for example, just messing around. But Jalen on that island needs to be able to stop D-Hop, and he needs to be able to do that effectively. Donald, Floyd, those guys can hang up front. But if Kyler starts scrambling and guys start running these routes that are unscripted, as long as Jalen and all of them stay calm and continue to do what they do, Matthew Stafford and that offense are going to give you their number. And at the end of the day, if this Rams defense can continue to hold, like you said, throughout the history of playing Kyler, I think they win this game without a doubt. But I like Kyler a lot. And Chandler Jones, to me, is still my defensive player of the year.
Oh, Chandler Jones, man. That guy's a beast.
I will say that, Jonathan. I loved your trade for Stafford, but,
yeah, you're right. That guy's a beast, man.
Yeah, my biggest fear for Stafford was having to play Bobby Wagner, Jamal Adams, Chandler Jones, J.J. Watt, Isaiah Simmons, and others however many times a year, 2+ times a year each. So if he can remain healthy, you win the trade easily. But if he does, God forbid, have a season-ending injury like we have seen in years past, it is unfortunate. But I think he's in a very good spot with this offensive line. The way they play call doesn't set Stafford up to fail. So I do think he will have a lot of success.
Yeah, I can see that. Absolutely. Now, we're going to move on to the Green Bay Packers and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, we all know that the Steelers have a pretty good defense. T.J. Watt and Alex Highsmith, they returned, and that would give the Steelers defense an advantage, a chance to come out with the victory, right? But Aaron Rodgers, as we all know, is good when it comes to mismatches. He could spot them. And, I just have to put all my money on Green Bay, even though I don't bet on sports. I got to go with the Packers. You could never really bet against Aaron Rodgers anyway. And the Steelers have looked poor early in the season. They haven't played well, even though they won in week 1, which surprised everyone because of who they beat. They beat the Buffalo Bills in week 1. Since then, they have kind of taken a step back. Ben Roethlisberger, you can see that he has aged. That he is not the same quarterback. So I'm going to go with Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers to come out with the win. I think they get the victory here. I'm going to give them a 10-point advantage. I think they win. Let me pick a score. I'm going to say 20-10.
Yeah, I keep it short again. I think it's definitely Green Bay without a doubt. I think, the Steelers are just having a hard time finding an identity right now, and that's all I could really say about them.
Yeah, they're definitely having a hard time finding out who they are. And, again, it's a different era for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and they're going to have to start making considerations about where they want to go as far as their quarterback moving in the future. So we'll see how that one goes. The next two teams, the Denver Broncos and the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson has led the Ravens on a wild roller coaster ride. It's been crazy, right? It's been a little bit difficult. I don't think this team really knows who they are, but at some point they will have to figure it out, right? The defense got back to blitzing last week in Detroit, and I believe their defense feels a little bit more confident, especially playing against a Denver Broncos team. You got to feel confident going into the Mile High City playing against the Denver Broncos because, look, the Denver Broncos are 3-0. So you got to play with a lot of confidence against a team that's 3-0.
Right.
So, Baltimore is up for the task. It won't be easy. I'm gonna go with the Denver Broncos since the Ravens are struggling. Um, the Broncos defense is, you know, good at stopping the run, and I think they can make things a little bit challenging for Lamar Jackson.
Right.
What's your take?
For me, this Denver team's really good. They're really, really good when they're healthy. But you already saw with Bradley Chubb having his issues, Jerry Judy having his issues, and a couple other guys. I will give the Ravens the slight edge, but I could definitely see, the big thing for me right now is, you have the defensive backs to win this game. Like if it was Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, I might actually pick the Denver Broncos simply based off the fact that you have Kyle Fuller, Vic Fangio, Bryce Callahan, all Chicago guys who had their best career years out of each other. And then a young a junior, a guy we've seen in the NFL. We've seen his pops, Patrick Surtain Jr. We've seen, that's an amazing core right there you have of DBs. And you have Simmons as your safety, and you have another strong safety there that really gets it done, or free safety, pardon me. But I definitely think, though, the only difference is Lamar Jackson. And I think if Bradley Chubb isn't 100%, I give the Ravens that edge. But I also don't forget that the Ravens almost got their number by the Lions. So I think Teddy Checkdown is going to continue to do his thing, being that game manager. And I think it's going to be a really interesting game. I'm really excited to see what Williams has to offer. He's their rookie running back. I like him. I want to continue to see what he has to offer.
Yeah, I'm interested to see what he's able to do as well. Like you said, he's been off to a good start. He's looked really good. And so, yeah, it would be interesting to see if he can, if that's sustainable and if he keeps that up. Moving forward, this is the game that I'm really looking forward to see outside of the Rams and Cardinals game, and I think you know what game I'm talking about because it's the game that everyone is talking about. Tom Brady's returning to New England to face his old team and to face his old buddy, Bill Belichick. Now it's going to be a little bit strange because Patriots fans are going to be rooting against Tom Brady for the first time. And I feel as if Tom Brady has something to prove to Bill Belichick. He's coming in there with a determined mindset, and he's coming in there believing that he can beat his old team.
Yeah.
And I mean, this is a matchup that everyone wants to see. I got Tampa Bay winning this game. I think the Patriots are too young of a team. Mac Jones has the potential, but he's not there yet. He can make some big plays, but he's definitely not Tom Brady. And he definitely can't keep up with Tom Brady.
Right.
Not yet. And Tom Brady understands Bill Belichick better than anyone else. So, of course, I have the Bucs winning this game. Now, the Bucs might be without Rob Gronkowski because I heard he has broken ribs.
Yeah, he has 2 fractured ribs.
Yeah.
It's pretty bad.
Right. It's pretty bad for him. So they'll be without him, but they won't miss him too much.
Right, you have O.J. Howard. You have a bunch of dogs.
You have O.J. Howard. You have you have Chris Godwin. You have
Mike
other weapons on that team. Mike Evans.
I think Antonio Brown got cleared too.
Yeah, I think he's out too.
But no, I think he's back.
Oh, he's back?
Yeah, he was on COVID protocol, so I think
he's back. So there you go. You have all your weapons at your disposal. The Bucs should win this game easily.
Yeah. For me though, I'll say this: I don't think Brady's gonna have his number a lot of the way people think he is. I don't see Brady throwing over 400 yards or even over 350. I don't see him blowing it up like that. Now, here's my thing: Tom understands Bill, but Bill's always been a defensive-minded head coach, and he understands Tom better than anybody in this world, whether people want to believe it or not. He understands exactly what Tom needs to do. He understands what Tom wants to do. He understands it all. I don't know if Stephon Gilmore is active. I don't know if that's still a thing. Is he still out, Jonathan? I know
I
he's
don't
been out.
know, man. I think no, he's still out.
Yeah, if
Yeah,
he's
you're
still
right.
out,
He's still out.
to me, if Stephon Gilmore was in this game, I think it's a lot of a closer game than people think. But the fact of the matter is, we're really looking at the Monstars versus the Toon Squad, and it's just a bunch of young cats, and Mac Jones is Bugs Bunny, and the rest of them are just waiting for the next Michael Jordan to come out, and that being their next Tom Brady, and they're just too young. They're too young. So I do think that Tom blows it up. I do think they win this game. I think he's gonna, really, really make Foxborough miss him. But at the end of the day, I don't think it's going to be that crazy. I think Bill will have a good game plan for Tom.
Oh yeah, Bill, and that's another thing. Bill knows Tom Brady too.
Right.
So yeah, they both are definitely going to game plan for each other.
I really would have liked if Gilmore was in this game to block on Evans or Garland.
That would be nice. That would
have
be
been a game changer.
If they had them. It's too bad that they don't have them. But moving on, we're going on to our last two teams, Mike, and then we're gonna wrap this up. Monday Night Football. The Las Vegas Raiders, who are 3-0, versus the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 2-1.
Right.
That game is gonna be played at SoFi Stadium. Wow, they're gonna have to change the field that quick. Wow. Interesting, because both LA teams are here this week.
Yeah.
But the Chargers secondary could, the Chargers secondary is okay, right?
Right.
But Derek Carr has been better. Derek Carr has really surprised me this year with his reemergence. Derek Carr looks like his old self before he suffered that injury a few years back.
Right.
And after that, he never found himself. He regressed. Well, now he looks like the quarterback of old. The Raiders just look really, really good right now. John Gruden has them playing really well. I'm going to have to go with the Raiders, man. Yeah. I don't know what your pick is on this. This one's the hardest one for me because I'm really huge on Justin Herbert.
I am too.
Chargers offense as well. So this one is really, really tough to me. But I just think that with the Raiders' offensive continuity and, with their explosiveness, I just think that they just have a little bit more offensive firepower with the way they have played.
Right.
And then you have Darren Waller too, man. He's
a beast. Top 3.
He's a beast. Yes.
I have the Raiders too. I had Justin. I was actually one of the only people that had Justin Herbert winning Rookie of the Year at the beginning of the year last year. And Joe Burrow had my number at the beginning of the year. I can't even lie. He had my number. He was proving me wrong. Justin wasn't starting, so my pick was kind of going to waste. But he ended up winning Rookie of the Year. This team is really good. I just feel like it digressed just a little bit after losing Hunter Henry and not really addressing that tight end issue. Keenan Allen's really kind of out there on an island. You have a couple other cats out there that are doing really decent, like Williams. But I believe his name is Williams. But it's definitely a good, well-put Chargers team. I like Bosa. I like that defense. But at the end of the day, to me, and I've always been a big Derek Carr guy. I've always been a big Derek Carr supporter. Now that you have Ruggs, now that you have Waller, now that Josh Jacobs is still questionable going into this game, you still have to, game plan for him, So for me, I think John Gruden's team and his defense is finally getting it together. I'm really excited for it. I would have to do Raiders in this as well.
Yeah, I'm going with the Raiders in this one as well, man. There's plenty of football tomorrow. There's going to be a lot of great games on the schedule tomorrow. And, I always start off my Sunday morning by watching Game Day with Steve Marucci, Rich Eisen, Kurt Warner. I enjoy those guys. Those guys are like morning coffee for me. I wake up to them. It's a great pregame show. It's a great way to start off your morning. And also, since we both do podcasting, you learn a lot from those guys too, because those
Yeah.
guys are polished analysts. They've been around a long time. They have a lot of experience in the business, and they understand how things go. So I always start off my morning that way, and then I enjoy the 10 o'clock games here on the West Coast. And then, of course, the afternoon games and the Sunday night games. So football is an all-day thing in my house, usually on Sundays. It's always fun to watch all the games. I know you'll be tuned in too, Mike, because you're a big football fan. And this is what we do. This is what we enjoy. We love sports, and we like to talk about sports, and we have a good time chatting it up about sports. And we just want to thank our viewers for tuning in tonight too as well. You guys mean a lot. Make sure you guys please subscribe to this channel. Also check out Mike's work and commentary. You can follow him as well. I think he has a YouTube page as well. I know he's with us at ASAP Network. He does a good job. He makes me a better podcaster. Without him, I don't know where I would be. But he's a pro at this. I'm still an amateur. I'm still learning. I'm still working my way up. But my friend Mike here, he's a pro in this. He's really, really good at what he does. And I want to thank him for coming on tonight. And Mike, it was a pleasure once again to have you on my YouTube channel. Tell everyone out there where they can find you and where they can hit you up.
Yeah, you can find me. You could always find me on the ASAP Network. And you know how Freddie has me nowadays, Jonathan. I'm on that mug about 5 out of the 7 days of the week. This week was 6, just because I was bored and I had something to do. But you could always find my podcast, Mike on the Mic. You could find that on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube. You can find me on Facebook with Jonathan. You can always find me in his comments, liking his posts, loving his articles. This guy says he's an amateur, but he's full of crap and he knows it. He's great at what he does. He's great at what he's doing. And he brought me into this game, in a different level and bringing me into the ASAP Network family. And, it's just been rolling from there. And I feed off Jonathan the same way, he feeds off me. And maybe, from a podcast standpoint, I don't listen to Jonathan at that level because he's so new. I still listen to him, but, he's finding his groove. But if you really want to find Jonathan, the real Jonathan Mathis to me is in his writing. And I love everything he's doing. And his podcasts are going to be amazing once that transitions and once that clicks. Once this man starts getting that foot in, you got to watch out. This guy's going to do his thing. But if you haven't checked out his articles, man, it's a great listen. He keeps you engaged. He keeps you listening. And he definitely keeps you interested in what the hell's going on, because half of these guys are just writing about numbers. And Jonathan's writing about how he feels. And that's what a big thing is with the ASAP Network. And you can find guys like that, Tony, Freddie, Jay, and so many others. You can check us out there.
Absolutely, my friend. And thank you for the humbling words, by the way. Yeah. I tried my best at all of this stuff, man. I still feel that I got a long way to go in writing too. I'm learning something new.
There's always room for growth.
Yeah, man. There's always room for improvement. But hey, you doing your thing too, and it was great to have you on again. We're gonna do this more often.
Yeah,
we're gonna do this more often because this is fun. Not only is this for our fans, but this can also be used for practice, for us to get better, for us to use this platform and this medium to help us improve and become very good at this stuff.
Yeah.
But until next time, my friend, I'll talk to you soon. I'll talk to you throughout the day tomorrow.
Yeah, for sure, brother.
But I know it's late for you in Chicago. I know it's midnight there for you. It's 10 o'clock.
Yeah, it is. It is.
It's 10 o'clock here in Southern California. So we're going to wrap this up now. Until next time, everyone, you guys take care of yourselves. Have a good night. Be sure to subscribe to this channel. Take care, everyone.
All right, brother.
All right, brother.